Good evening, my liege. I have prepared for you a truly stellar Minecraft Let's Play. Shall we begin? I'm starting by cheating just a little. I'm using fire resistance with fog off to get huge quantities of ancient debris from lava lakes in the nether. There's some disagreement on the vanilla-ness of this strategy because the lava fog is not really intended to obscure ancient debris, but also you do need to use a mod or texture pack or something else that is not vanilla to get rid of fog, and in this case I'm using a mod. I will say fire resistance does make lava fog slightly further away, but it's still basically impossible without turning fog off. The main drawback to this method, other than potential cheating, is that it takes like a million fireworks because swimming under lava without them is miserable. For my first potion, I got 26 ancient debris, and my next got me 28. The next got me 25, so I'm averaging 26.333333. Also, I got a wither skull in the middle of this expedition. I left with 3 wither skulls and began the 4,000 block journey home. After a couple thousand blocks, I had to dig through the walls, which is the reason I hate nether travel. Even once I was in the area of my home portals, I struggled to find my actual portals, which was not aided by the fact that they're on the nether roof. I was pretty sure that these were the caverns that my first nether portal in the desert spawned me in, but I did not end up figuring that out because I left the caves, and here the place I'm looking for was literally staring me in the face, but it still took a minute for me to realize I was there. Back in the overworld, I was flying around looking for something to do because I was still a little hazy on the details of what I was doing, but I eventually found this valley between the hills with a pillager outpost overlooking it. And I'm gonna do something there eventually, just not today. Today, I need bricks, and I traded with my villagers for several stacks of them. That's just over 12 stacks, to be specific. I began building the outline of a structure out of some stone bricks. It's a road that winds as it goes up the side of the basin. After figuring out some design details, I was almost over the hill. I knew I wanted the path to go to that valley, but I realized I'd need to cross the lake, and then I also realized how big the lake is. I had to figure out a solution. The road becoming a bridge would look really weird because it's a very long distance and having that much bridge for such a small road feels excessive. I considered going around the lake, but that would be way too resource intensive and be a very long, meandering path. After a little while, I had built up to the shore of the lake, and I figured I just need to have a stockpile of boats at either side and row across. I also scouted out exactly what the shape of the rest of the road would take, and I have a pretty good idea. It does go through the jungle, which will be a little bit tricky, but hopefully I can get it done within a few hours. This part of the road was quite bumpy, and there were some diagonals, which are always tricky, but I would soon hit the jungle edge, which was pretty flat. I then walked most of the length of the path and took a break. The jungle edge got tougher to work with as I neared the real jungle, but before that I restocked on bricks and built a little bridge. Then I went to a fugue state for about an hour and had built the entire jungle path, so that's cool. After pushing through the birch forest, I did have to carve through a portion of the mountain, but after that I just had to push through the meadows and deal with an occasional pillager attack. There was a pretty steep drop at the end of the meadows, but that wasn't a huge problem. I actually finished the road after that, and came back the next day to build some lights along the road. And now I'm going to show you some live gameplay where I explain my plans for the rest of this video. Okay, so I'm sitting here at what I'm going to officially, from here on out, be dubbing the basin, which is the river or lake that I drained way back in episode 3 of this series. So as you can see, I've built a path, and I'll talk more about that later. But before that, I want to explain the entirety of the build I'm going to be making here. So, first of all, you can already see I began working on something and then realized I should probably record a video segment like this. But I'm going to be building basically like a city within the basin. And then, as you can see, I've built an auto smelter here, which is just for smooth sandstone, because I'm going to need a lot of that. Yeah, because all of the walls, there's going to be... So at, like, the center area, there's going to be, like, 2 or 3 blocks, maybe 4 blocks, like, city blocks, not, like, Minecraft blocks, of, like... apartments / offices, and then I'm gonna have, you know, the suburbs surrounding it, going out towards the edges of the basin. And then I have a plan. I'm just gonna announce this, in this video. I'm going to build, at the other end of the road, in the scripted segment before this, which you probably already saw, I'm going to be building another city out there in the birch forest. So I want to talk about this path. I just outlined the entirety of the rest of this video, but much more important is this path. So it's really more of a road than a path. But the one thing I didn't include in that scripted segment is this hut. I don't know, it's a little uninspired. I should really do something, but inside you can see this guy. He's the ferryman. And these rails prevent him from just breaking down the door and leaving. So I have this chest with a bunch of boats. And I've built these little lights so that you can find your way when it's dark. I mean, you already kind of could, but now it's much easier when it's dark. And when it's raining and I'm using shaders, it gets really foggy. So you can work around that better now. You can see the path. So I want to just walk and talk down this whole path around all of my plans. This is the starting point. I actually uploaded a video on my seldom used second channel in which I walked down the full path. That was before I installed the lights on the river, so it was a little harder. I also did it at night, which was pretty dangerous. Well, not dangerous, but not as calming as I hoped for it to have been. So the ferryman's there. I might do some lore around him, though I don't know. I don't know exactly. I don't have the lore figured out for this. And the lore is rapidly evolving for this world as I make it. So I don't know. I want to get the whole story around all of these builds that intertwines. I want to get it to a point where it's kind of cohesive before I make the big video explaining all of the lore. So I'm now crossing the river. This isn't really a river. This is just a lake. It's not drained, unlike the other ones, so that's... You know, I'm having an idea right now. I could build, like, these light towers, but do that in the drain lake in the basin. So, yeah, that's a good idea. I might do those, and maybe have them, like, collapsed, because they floated on the water, but now they don't. So, this path took me... maybe like 6 hours to build all in all. I basically did it all in one evening. So it goes through here. Really, none of it was too hard. I was expecting the jungle to be a little harder than it was. That did take the longest, though. Really, the worst part was just like this, you know, curves where I have to work with the terrain a little and do... you know, sloping. So I actually did build this with horse travel in mind, which is why you have to jump on all of the blocks, but it's definitely much more serene to walk along it. I haven't actually taken a horse and done it properly, though. Also, I am noticing some FPS issues, so I might have to tune my shaders a little. As you can see, it's averaging 40-ish, and I've decided to take the FPS up to 50 for all of my videos. So now we're entering the jungle. That's probably part of the lag. It's not nearly this bad in the desert. I mean, you can see shaking my camera like this. So here it clears, and I really like the look of this path cutting through the birch forest. I also really like the slightly distinct but pretty similar texture of the tough bricks with the lanterns and the stone bricks on the sides. There's this little bit that cut straight through the mountain. It's not... I don't believe I ended up putting in any actual tunnels here, but it's pretty close there. Like, I think if there were just like 2 or 3 more blocks overhead, I might have just kept some of the top of the bit there. So now this is the summit of the meadow. You cross through here. It just curves right around that forest. And here you can see the pillager outpost that will be overlooking the position of the second city. I will come up with proper names for both of these cities eventually, but the thing about that is I don't really... The lore episode is a nebulous concept, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do for it. Like, all I really know is it will happen one day if I live long enough. And if not, I might do a video, a little posthumous video where I go around in spectator mode and describe it. Oh, I didn't have that achievement. So yeah, there's gonna be... I plan to make, for this city, all of the villagers will be locked in their homes. And I think this is fine to say. Oh, I missed these lanterns. I think this is fine to say as for lore spoilers, but I'm gonna have it be that this pillager outpost was made after the city down here. After the rest of it, at least. This whole, like, area is so beautiful, this valley. So I'm gonna talk about, I do have another idea that I'm gonna do in this region. That's gonna be sort of an explanation. So I want the lore to be that these were originally very rich and very resource abound cities until the pillagers came and fucked them up. But this, until the pillagers came, and also something else happened, which I have as a canon event in the lore, which is like one of the most solid concepts I have. So I wanna make it sort of explain how these communities function and how they were so rich. And you'll see the effects that left on the areas, and that's all I'm gonna say, because otherwise I'm spoiling it. Also, I did just retune my noise gate on my microphone, so that could be a little bit off. This hut, I'm gonna 100% be accepting feedback on this. It's very early stages. I'm gonna probably change it. I like the color scheme, but something about it feels wrong. I don't know. So if you have any advice for me as a builder, I do like having the ferryman here. He's real chill. Also, capturing him was the first time I've ever had to use my set of god armor with no thorns, so that was a worthwhile investment. So just to be clear, that other city and the project over there will not be until episode 9, or possibly episode 10. I might do something in between. These two projects will take a very, very long time. Both of them will probably take longer than the end project. But yeah, I'm now gonna cut to a montage where I will do the entirety of this desert city. I'll see you then. But wait, I did something else. Yeah, I spent a while exploring the trial chambers. For some reason, though, I didn't bring any of my ominous potions, so my first trial chamber was boring. In one of the last vaults in this chamber, I found an ominous bottle and could rerun it. I quickly found that these trial chambers aren't hard if you have maxed armor, though if you have the time and you don't already have god armor, I would recommend swapping one piece of armor for a piece of projectile protection. Also, side note, the trial chambers are very fun, especially with friends. It's also fun to torment your friends with the mace. I did also get a Windburst 1 book in this chamber, which isn't that good on its own, but Windburst books are insanely rare, so you usually end up having to combine at least a few level 1 books. By the way, Mojang, if you're watching this, Windburst is way too hard to get. Unless it's been changed since I recorded this gameplay in September, I am straight up not bothering trying to get it until they fix it and make it more common. After that chamber, I went back and got the rest of my ominous bottles. By the way, I should probably explain, I'm using the Pyre to find trial chambers. I have done trial chambers legitimately before, but not in this world. Also, Mojang, if you want people to get trial chambers legitimately, don't make it so you need to raid 400 chambers to get Windburst. By the way, though the seal has already been broken in this world, I decided that in future worlds I will require that I find one trial chamber with a map before I just use the Pyre. Then I got a heavy core, and later in this room I was getting messed up, and although I wasn't that low, I ate an enchanted apple regardless. After that I was basically just trying to get Windburst, and gave up in like 20 minutes. Then I came back the next day and played for nearly 2 hours and got everything I needed. I also got 4 enchanted golden apples, but I could get like 10 of them if I spent the same time raiding ancient cities. I then messed around with my big old mace killing creatures on the Mesa Monument, and after that I went to a village near the basin, and I decided to do a raid. Bad idea. Yeah, that was 3.5 hearts. If I had my Elytra on, 1 Vindicator hit would have killed me there. This is sort of why you should use wind charges, because usually with fireworks you end up going way too high and taking a whole boatload of damage. By the way, another complaint to Mojang. For some reason, blast protection makes you immune to wind charges, and that includes your own wind charges and wind burst from a mace, which makes the enchantment straight up useless. That's why I'm using my old Prot 4 armor here. By the way, one of these times I killed 2 Ravagers in a row, and then the Evoker riding one of them, and that's cool as hell. Also, at the end of the raid, a zombie picked up a totem and popped it. Anyway, now we can actually do the montage. Okay. That was a huge montage. And I have come in to inform you that the build is not done. I have an arrow straight into the side of my head, like right in the temple. The build is not done, which normally I just do the whole build or like a major part of the build. I'm not even at like a major point in here. Die. Yeah, I'm not really at a big point, because I am at the point where the basic structure of every build is done, and I've done most of the interiors, which are not very complicated. They're just this in most rooms. I'm gonna need to probably put in another, just like another little while of work over the next video or two to actually populate and finish this village. So I'm actually gonna inform you that I have not really done anything that wasn't in the montage. So I'm just gonna go over some of the stuff that you saw but maybe would like more details on. So with these houses, they all follow pretty much this same blueprint. But then with these ones that are special, I actually took pre-existing houses, and like with this one, there was a house here and a house here, so I joined them in the center and made them too tall and gave them a different roof. With this, there was one house at the bottom here, so I expanded it on the sides and added a compartment up top. And then, like over here, I expanded it one high and out in this direction, and then put on a slanted roof. This one, I think, did already exist, and then I added to it with the special stuff. I am not really supposed to be in this area much at night. So I also want to just say, I still don't really... I'm not 100% certain that all of these houses will stay the same. If you have any tips, any suggestions for these... please do leave them in the comments, because there is a sincere... I don't get that many comments. I'll probably read it. There is a pretty good chance that your suggestion will end up being in the build if you leave one. I did also follow some suggestion from a friend, which is why originally it was all these, and I realized that just looked so uniform and boring. They look a little uniform as is, but that's, you know, sort of matching the vibe. So I added the gravel path, which is much more distinguished. Before I was using birch wood, which I didn't necessarily think would be a permanent solution, but I don't know why I wouldn't just, like, consider what I should do, test it out in a small area. I should have just done the final version, figure something out. A small part of me didn't want to do, like, a cobble or stony path because I don't know. It just didn't feel like it fit the vibe, but I realized the birch was real ugly. And also, there's not a birch forest for, like, 1,000 blocks. I don't know why I thought that would have been good. So I'm going to take the base with these villagers, and then I'll probably breed them out. I'll move a few over. I've actually already broken all their beds, so they're already starting to assign to new beds down here. I don't know that the village is continuous enough that they will make it all the way to here and still have it be in one village bounding box, you know? You know, I think the only reason I wanted to do the birch road so bad was that the other city over there, which doesn't exist yet, I'm going to build it next episode, is in a birch forest, so I figured maybe it could be like an exports thing. I want to explain a little, but not all of the lore for this area, and then I'm going to get into the next project, which might be in this video. I'm not 100% sure. Basically, the housing here, there is this garbage suburban American housing that's just miserable and looks all exactly the same, exact same block palette, nothing special. It's so boring. Same green glass in all of them. There's this tower here, and that. These are supposed to be the more rich, upper middle class homes. And then these mangrove and dark prismarine homes are supposed to be the, like, poorer, lower class dwelling where the majority lives. I think there are probably something like 60 beds in this bit and this tower. And then there are something like 100. I think more than 100, because there's somewhere around 100 beds and spaces for villagers to live in all of these blue and red houses. So, the official story for this was that the mangrove wood comes from the mangrove swamp over yonder. I used this island here to plant more mangrove trees. And I didn't use real copper, but the prismarine roofs are supposed to represent copper. The thing with that is, I couldn't really do copper, because real copper isn't really that good for a roof. Like, it's way too shiny, and if my bird is occasionally squawking, real copper is way too shiny. So I had to go for the dark prismarine, so it wouldn't just be like completely distracting. It also matches the mangrove way better than that. The color palette for these builds, I intentionally wanted it to be like a bit off-putting, like not maybe something where it's like it still works, but it's not like gorgeous. It's like it looks kind of grimy, which is why I also did the brown glass, which on its own, brown with the red and the blue doesn't sound like it'd be that good, but it works because it does not show up very well, so it just looks like dirty glass compared to like an actual brown, like pronounced brown. So my plan for over here, I might renovate a few of these, but I want to talk about the reason why these roofs are all copper. Again, not copper. There is going to be a copper mine at the other city over in the birch forest. I'm going to do that. I want to look at like some actual geology stuff of how copper forms naturally, because I want to make sure it's somewhat accurate. I mean, if like the way it works is some really specific requirements that like couldn't happen. But I'm gonna look at like the common elevations, well, not elevations, elevations, I guess. I don't know. The common places where copper actually forms, and build a copper and general mineral quarry in here. There is this cave, which I will probably either end up covering up or making like covering it up a little and then building stuff in there. It won't be a full mine. So I'm thinking there are two quarry locations I'm stuck between. And it's either up on this ridge here, and then going around, or I can build it over here. So I've actually been to, somewhat recently, and this is what inspired this build, Quarry Hill in Lebanon, New Hampshire, which is where I live, not in Lebanon, but in New Hampshire. And I saw the quarry, and it was like old and run down, so I want to have the old rundown quarry, and I had an idea, and I don't know if I'm going to execute it, to have this whole city be ransacked, and have like a whole series of buildings. So I'll get more into my specific plans as I am preparing to do the build in episode 9 of this series. I think the base of the city will probably go to around here, and then maybe I'll have like suburbs or like slums or something. I don't know. There will be the outer regions here, and then maybe some rural housing up on the hill and the quarry. I don't know. I might do the quarry over in this region, or even on top of this hill, but it's just way too small, is the problem. I actually don't have a super good concept of this region's like geography, I guess, topology. Because like I want to build it on top of a hill. That's the whole thing. And that was my inspiration, so I want to see. But I don't know. I'll have to. There is the jungle real close to here, which could be interesting. I want to have the builds in this world be relatively interconnected. I eventually might build a road to spawn. I just don't know exactly how I'll do that, or when I'll do that. So, by the way, I want to start doing this at the start of each video. I am currently on day 1,347. I started a little after 1,000. I might have been close to 1,100. I will say, that day count includes 2 overnight AFK sessions, totaling like 80 days or something. So, really, this build has not taken very long. Like, it's taken way shorter than the, I guess not way shorter. I mean, when you get down to it, it's like 200 days, something like that. A little more, maybe. Whereas the end build was like, it started at like day 630 something, and then continued past day 1000. And obviously that's all days, not real time, but whatever. So I want to have sort of like the, how you can see the politics of this world and how they interact with its appearance. And there will be like, I'm honestly, I don't want to say I'm not happy with this build, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna keep working on it, because I want to get it to the point where I'm truly, like, I truly love it. And I love having it in the world, and it's just not there yet. This building is the big panel windows, which look more like yellow/brown in the light, but it's all green glass panes. These are like cubicles made of bamboo mosaic. And I'm gonna make these all workstations. So this will be the main work where people, probably villagers from both the red poor housing and the rich sandstone housing, will live. And by the way, I'm not giving more detailed interiors to these. So I believe the last of these homes I built was actually this collapsed one, and this is an interesting detail. I might add a actual farmer, like another zombified villager, like there is with the ferryman. I will say, the thing about these villages is, it needs to be functional. These villages, this city, it needs to be functional at being a village, while also being pretty. And the thing about that is, I'm not doing that for the other city, so I can go fucking hog wild on that thing. I can do whatever the fuck I want. There are no stipulations. Okay, so this is like an outlook here on the city. I may, in the next part, once I'm getting back to the rest of the village, I may do a bit more of the sandstone housing up on this ledge here. So I had an idea, which I'm not gonna do, at least not anytime in the next like 10 years. At least I won't get it done. I could theoretically build city all along this island. So it's sort of like New York. God, I hate New York. The official lore reason for this is that sandstorms, the reason why the city would be in this basin, is that sandstorms would blow west. These mountains to the east would block it. So they would mess with any high up housing, and that's why they had to build it in the basin. These mountains going east would only block so much of it, which is why these can protrude a little past the basin. Well, kind of a lot past the basin. This goes up to like 80-something. Yeah, but it's still mostly not in the direct line of fire. But it would still go over and eventually go down and sweep these people, which is why this village eventually just deteriorated and is now very small. I mean, I have probably some 40 villagers living here, maybe a little less. But there's, you know, it's not the same size as that village. So I do want to talk about two things, which were probably in the montage, but I think are important to go in a little more depth on. Over past the Mesa Monument, and I've been doing this fly-through every single time, because there's not a proper portal to get there. I have built, if it's anywhere near here, a guardian farm.
So you probably saw that in the montage. This thing is made by ENXO4, and it's great. That is how I got all of the prismarine for the roofs in the village, in the city, and how I got all of the... Not actually how I got all of the black dye. We'll talk about that later. This is by ENXO4. It is an amazing farm. And it is how I have 203 levels. So the thing about this is... and I'm going to turn off my hostile creature. The thing about this is... Guardians spawn the most XP out of any mob upon their death. So, like... an Enderman only spawns so many... so many points in each XP orbit drops, but a Guardian spawns, I believe, the most, or nearly the most. And there is not a limit to how many XP points a player can absorb, but there is a limit to how many XP points or XP orbs a player can absorb, and these are high-value orbs, so they're better. So you can get levels really fast. Like, this doesn't look that fast, but I'm at level 204. This farm can get you from level 0 to level 30 in, like, a minute. It's ridiculous. So that's how I got 204, which is the highest level I've been in this world, for sure. Maybe the highest level I've been in any world. I don't remember. And that's the only reason why... well, this bow actually has infinity and mending, as I showed off in episode 7. Which means, basically, it never breaks. So I never have to spend the levels repairing it. I'm sure I will have something where I need to spend the levels, but... like, they'll add a new item that I need to enchant or something. But I will, theoretically, keep stacking up levels every single time I use this Guardian farm. Which, this has completely superseded my Enderman farm. It's about the same speed to get there, at least from the monument, and it's in the overworld, which is just way more convenient, because I don't have to travel between dimensions. I mean, I have to travel through the nether if I'm not at the monument, but whatever. And it is so much better for XP, like, monumentally better for XP. I don't know, I could probably get to, like, some ridiculously high level just for the status, but again, that's another thing of, like, as soon as they add something I need to enchant, that's just so pointless. That's such a waste of time. Now I want to talk about the other, actually, I guess technically 2 farms, because over here, I've built stupidest shit ever. I built a huge fucking sheep farm. I can't find it, but I built a huge, not an automatic or good one, but it's a sheep farm, man. It's a hell of a sheep farm. It was just because I needed beds for the city, to be honest. And you know what, now I can't find it, and it's gonna make it look like I lied about it. I can, like, put it on the montage, probably. Yeah. You'll see it someday. Oh, I'm kind of low on fireworks. Yeah, that's the thing. Because I've been spending so much time away from home, I have just not had time for my sugarcane to grow. And that's kind of a problem. Ah, here's the sheep farm. Yeah, as you can see, it's not very populated, but I dug this out. I got a little bit of a taste of what it will be like to dig out the entire area at spawn. Obviously, not to the same extent, but it's just not as big. But man, I'm not looking forward to that. Oh, I kind of am. It'll be interesting. So I have a few things I want to do, and I may actually do this in this episode and then just go into VO for it, but I want to make a proper build around this stronghold, which will not be like a huge episode-long build. But it'll be interesting. So I actually wasn't supposed to go. So as you can see, I've done maybe a little. I've done like basically nothing for this. I'm not on my grind. If I don't die, I will eventually do this. It's just not yet. I do it in episode 9, Probably not. Will I do it in episode 10? Maybe. Speaking of, I'm not going to say it here, but I do already know what I'm doing for episode 10. And, spoiler alert, episode 10 is going to be one build, and that build is also going to be episode 11. It's going to be a real big build. Bigger than the Mason Monument, which was also 2 episodes, but... yeah, that build will probably take, like, actual months. Like, not even joking. This thing, which I've been meaning to get to for so goddamn long. You probably saw it in the montage anyway, but... over here... I built a squid farm. Greatest farm on the planet. So yeah, I built this. It spawns squid. It's pretty good. I used it to get all of the black dye for the dark prismarine in the copper roofs, fake copper roofs. So I originally had like 4 double chests, or no, 2.5 double chests. And I used 2 of them. And I AFK'd overnight. So this farm is decent. I don't remember the name of the original designer, but I just followed a tutorial from Shulkercraft. So I'll link the tutorial and the original, and I'll put the name on screen, and I will link the tutorial and the original video that I followed in the description of this video, because I don't wanna just I don't want to appropriate this appropriated farm. As you can see, there's still a lot of junk here, like the sponges, which actually are definitely not junk, and I will probably use them for something eventually. One funny thing, which is why I was originally not going to build this farm, and I was just going to go around in rivers in the ocean killing squid with looting 3, was I didn't realize it's not... making dark prismarine is not like glass, where you surround 1 black dye with 8 prismarine or 8 glass, and it makes 8 dyed glass or dark prismarine. You need 1 dye for 1 prismarine. So I needed 8 times as much prismarine as I thought I would. So yeah, that was like, that went from, oh, I'll need a few stacks and maybe it'll take like an hour going around in the ocean, to, oh, I need 40 stacks of fucking dark prismarine, so I'm gonna spend 2 hours building a farm and then AFK it overnight. My other AFK session was just the creeper farm, because I was running out of gunpowder. I also just hit my mic there, I don't know if you heard that. Okay, so, you know something I'm realizing now? I don't have some of the things I need to build the thing in episode 10. Which means I'm gonna announce episode 10 now. And the real build will be in episodes 11 and 12, probably. The build that I'm doing in episode 10 is gonna be a fucking wither skeleton farm. Actually, I might do that in episode 9 and just delay the city part 2. Okay, now I'm thinking I will probably do the wither skeleton farm before the second part of the city, and then I'll do that other thing in episode 11 or 12 or whatever. However I do it, it might not. It's not set in stone. So yeah, I've basically just realized that now. I'm gonna need a wither skeleton farm. So I'll see you in the next video, where I'm going to get a ton of the stuff I outlined today done, and probably build a wither skeleton farm, though I'm not sure on that. I'll need a little stuff. Oh, also, I want to ask, before, I have 22 netherite ingots here. And I got, I believe, 19 of them by drinking a fire resistance potion with lava fog turned off with a mod, or a resource pack or something. I don't know my exact configuration right now. I set up these mods a while ago. And I want to ask you if that's legitimate. Should I be doing that? If not, I will throw all of those onto my cactus trash can and start again if I ever need more. But I'm thinking, hi. I always forget you're here. Did he get bigger? Is that just me? I feel like he's gotten bigger. This isn't the size he was before, was it? I think he's like bigger than my camel. What is happening? What's happening to you? What's happening, creator? Probably not a name. Like, I can say boss, I can kind of say leaper, but I can't say creator as, like, a casual name. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video, probably. I'll see you in the next one. Can I feed you in an... No, I can't. Even if I lost one, it wouldn't have mattered. I have so many. But yeah, that's gonna be the end. I'll see you in the next one.